This mission trip was challenging for me since it forced me to interact with unsaved people. I am not a people person, so I prefer to stand back and let other people do the talking. But there were times on this mission trip where God forced me to interact with certain people in a way that only I could due to my Chinese background. On Tuesday, our group was going to ride the Staten Island ferry. While we were looking for the ferry stop, we noticed a man playing music on the sidewalk. Some of the teens decided to go over and give him a gospel tract. I went along since I had nothing better to do. When we started talking with the man, he began using motions to try to tell us that he didn't understand any English. He was a Chinese man, so when he saw me, he began speaking to me in Chinese. I know a little bit of Chinese since my parents speak it at home, but I never enjoyed learning it. As a result, I avoided it as much as possible. Now I regret that choice. I was able to communicate with the man a little bit in Chinese, but I was unable to share the gospel with him. This wasn't the only time something like this happened. Later on in the week, our group was visiting Chinatown. While we were shopping in one of the stores, the owner of the store came up and began speaking with me in Chinese. Since she understood a little English, I was able to share a little bit about myself, as well as the reason I was in New York City. I was also able to give her a gospel tract, and she told me that she would try her best to read it. Again, I was unprepared to share the gospel in Chinese. As 1 Peter 3:15 says, we need to be ready to give an account of the hope that is in us. This mission trip showed me an area in which I need to be better prepared. Since God created me as a Chinese person living in the United States, I need to be prepared to share the gospel in both English and in Chinese. Even though learning Chinese is hard, I need to learn it in order to be prepared to be used by God.
Our missions trip to New York City was incredible. I never could have imagined what God would do. Even before the missions trip, God provided the money for our team to be able to go. For me personally, I don't have a job. But between the Help Us Help You program, working for people around the church, and babysitting, I earned almost exactly the money I needed, and only God can do that. While we were in New York, God also allowed us many opportunities to serve. We spent a day working around the church, and when that day was over, all the projects were too. We got so much accomplished in just one day. I was blown away by what God enabled us to do, and that was just the work day. I got the awesome opportunity to accompany singing in 4 services that week. Another night, while the rest of my team was serving dessert, I played piano in the background for 2.5 hours. I can honestly say that all the playing I did that night was of God. I've never played that long in my life, but God gave me the focus and discipline to keep playing. When Pastor Bryce said I could stop, I had no idea how much time had passed. My fingers didn't even hurt. Another thing about that night. I'm honestly really bad at sight reading, but I sight read most of what I played that night and did it exceptionally well for me. Most of the time I need lots of practice to make a piece sound good, but not that night. I got numerous compliments from our playing. All these opportunities were in addition to helping in a food pantry. It amazed me how much food was donated. During the week, I'm not exaggerating, there was a pallet with boxes of apples stacked as tall as I am. And apples are only one of many fruits that are donated every week. God has really provided for the food pantry, and I'm confident that He will continue to do so. The food pantry taught me more than just God provides, though. I learned that God provides as I earn money for the trip. I also got to see just how important it is to have volunteers in a ministry. Often, I'm tempted to think that pastors and others in full-time Christian service are the only ones who make a ministry succeed. I find myself thinking that volunteers are nice, but not necessary. I love to serve. In fact, I think Pastor Bryce got a little tired of me constantly asking him what I could do. But I sometimes wonder if being a volunteer means anything. I sometimes think, is volunteering worth my time? God stopped me in my wrong thinking and showed me a ministry completely dependent on volunteers. And not just any volunteer-run ministry, but one that profoundly affects the community. I learned that every opportunity in ministry for volunteer is just as important as any ministry opportunity for a pastor. I was also really made aware of how blessed beyond belief we are to have enough food to eat. So many people, even in our own country, have food. I know I just think that's true of people in foreign countries. The fact that people in America don't have food is a fact, but I never really understood it. It didn't seem real to me until we were in New York. Another thing God taught me was to trust His timing and His plans. I'm one of those people who likes to have a plan and have it play out as planned. When Pastor Bryce passed out a schedule weeks before we left, I was super excited. Little did I know how many of our plans would change. We had one day when nothing went according to plan. Changes in plans really annoy me. Pastor Bryce and Miss Janie kept telling me that missions trips are all about flexibility. Although it's still a challenge for me to be flexible, I know that God is working in this area of my life. In New York City, God worked through us and allowed us to have an awesome, challenging week. God also worked in me, and I know that He worked in the other members of my team. It was God, not us, or what we did, that made our missions trip successful.
So, hi, my name is Faith Craft, and I went to the New York City Missions Trip this year. And in the past year, I went to St. Vincent, and these two are very different. So when I went to this trip, not knowing what to expect, all I knew was that it was going to be work. And my older siblings and my mom told me that it was going to be really different than St. Vincent because it's going to be like work. And she was like, it's going to be hard work. So I just was like, okay, don't know what to expect. But everybody basically just told me it was going to be work. So we got there, and the lady, she was like, okay guys, go get some lunch because you're going to be working. And I was like, okay, I don't really know what we're going to be doing, but okay. And then we got lunch, but then we came back, and the Pastor Galen, he told us that we were going to be doing the food pantry. And he explained it to us, and I was just like, yeah, it's going to be a lot of work. So then what we had to do on the food pantry was we would have to sort through like the foods and organize them. And we would also have to, me and some other girls, we had to cut egg cartons so they would have like 6, a half of a dozen. So, and then the people, they would bring their carts in, and then we would put the food in their carts. And then after all that was done, I think we did 1 or 2 maybe that day. After all that, I was like super tired. I just was like, okay, I want to be done, and it just was only the first day. I just was like, if this is every day, I'm gonna die, because we had just like got up at 3 in the morning, like got to the airport. Then after that, we had to go and we had to sort through all these foods, and I just like, can we go to sleep? Then they told us that we were gonna go. I think we went like out to dinner. I just was like, I did not feel good, and I wasn't drinking water, so I got sick, and I just like, every day is going to be like that. It's going to be great. So then the next few days, we had to do the food pantry again. And once again, I just was like, if this is going to be like Sunday, I'm not going to want to do it at all. And then we got through it, and I'm just like, okay, I was really tired, but I just was like, okay, so I don't need to be complaining or being lazy, because these people, they were like volunteers that went there. And they do this every single week. So I'm just like, I don't need to be complaining and being lazy, because these people, they do this every week. And I'm just here for this 1 week, and this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So why am I complaining? And God, He taught me that like all through the week, because I really was complaining a lot. But not like out loud, but I just was like complaining, just like not want to do that. And even like when Pastor Bryce, he told us to pass out 5 tracts, I just was like, okay, it's not going to happen. I don't know what he thinks it's gonna happen, but I'm not gonna be able to pass out 5 tracts. But then we got to do it, and it was the dessert fellowship day, and I just was like, okay, I'm gonna be able to do it. But then once I started doing that, I just prayed to God and asked Him if He could help me. And once we started doing it, it wasn't even that hard. So I just started doing it. Then the dessert fellowship came, and I just was like, once again, I just was complaining, like, nobody's gonna come, nobody is even gonna want to come, like, why would they come to church and eat dessert? And then people started coming, and I was like, okay, they are coming. So then I had to tell myself again, I'm just like, stop complaining and stop being lazy. So that's basically what God told me throughout the week.